Not at all. Lovely piece, isn't it? The voice came from just behind her shoulder, startling her. Samantha whirled around to face the speaker, her wine sloshing in her glass. When she saw him, she nearly swallowed her tongue. The man was tall, at least 6 feet, and though he wore expensive-looking black slacks and a dress shirt, she could see enough of his physique to appreciate the muscular body beneath the clothing. Combined with his dark blue eyes, flaxen hair, and sexy-as-hell smile, his sudden appearance made it seem as if all of Samantha's heated dreams had just come to life. That sexy dream man cocked an eyebrow at her, and she belatedly realized that he'd asked her a question. "Do you like this particular sculpture?" he repeated helpfully. Oh yes, it's very nice." She wasn't about to tell anyone here that she was the artist. She wasn't ready for anyone to ask what had inspired it, especially this man, who discomforted her with his focused attention. Deliberately, she shrugged and tried to catch one thin strap of her sundress as it slid down her shoulder. She tugged it back up and caught the man's eyes following the movement. "It's such a pretty saturated color." She almost bit her tongue as she said it. She knew, of course, the painstaking effort that had gone into creating the gradation of color in the sculpture, the hours she'd spent gathering the molten material on her blowpipe, rolling it into finely ground glass of different shades, then setting the colors in by sweating over the smaller of her 2 glass furnaces. But she wanted to take care not to tip her hand that she was more than a casual admirer of the artwork. She assumed the man would simply nod in agreement. Instead, he reached out one slender finger over a curling tendril of glass, much as she had done. The care and attention of his touch over the smooth surface made Samantha think of those dreams she'd been having lately, the ones that had produced a constant ache. In fact, last night's had featured a man running his hands over her body exactly the same way this man was doing to the sculpture. The memory made her shiver. "Would you like to know what I see?" His blue eyes pinned her with their intensity, and Samantha lifted her glass to her lips to give herself something to do with her hands. "Yes, I'm curious." She nodded, her breath catching in her throat as his fingers closed around hers, where they rested on the stem of her wine glass. The man captured the glass from her fingers and handed it off to a passing waiter. He secured a fresh one and had it in her hand without ever once taking his eyes from her. "I see a meeting of male and female." She felt herself getting lost in the deep, husky tones of his voice as he continued. "But more than that, I see a balance of 2 opposites, each feeding a need in the other." Samantha's lips parted in surprise, and her heart began to pound. That was exactly what she'd intended. How on earth had he known? No one else ever saw what she'd intended in her art. "That's what yes, I see that as well." She worried her lower lip with her teeth as she spoke, afraid he would ask her about what she had started to say. With her heart still beating double time against her rib cage, she turned from the sculpture to look up into the man's face. He looked vaguely familiar, as if she'd met him once a long time ago. More than familiarity, though, there was a sense of connection. He'd understood the meaning behind her art, and with that came a tug on an invisible rope that seemed to stretch between them, pulling them ever closer. And God, he was sexy. There was something in his demeanor that attracted her, made her want something she couldn't quite articulate. Liquid heat pooled between her legs, and she held herself back from reaching out to touch him. "What are you thinking?" The man's voice was low, but Samantha could hear him as if he were the only other person in the crowded room. His sharp gaze made her feel like the only woman in the world, and she had the insane urge to spill all her secrets to him. If she did, would he understand that? More than anything, she yearned for a man who would be strong enough to take control for her. Samantha started to speak,